Welcome to Grown Dad Business. This is Aaron Kleiber. I'm here in the Dad Cave watching Pittsburgh Penguins hockey with Jason Clark.
Pew, pew, pew.
It's pew, pew, pew now?
This week it's pew, pew,
All
pew.
right. And I'm also here with comedian and dad Jeff Konkle is here. Chunk, chunk.
Whoa.
How about a shotgun for that?
Oh, little chunk, chunk. That's a thick shotgun.
Yeah,
That's
I would go to
5-inch barrel
heavy
shotgun.
metal class.
sawed off, possibly.
Yeah, we're here chatting with Jeff Konkle today, and I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm really not sure. I do know that Jeff is having his second child.
Oh shit! There's
Deuce.
There's the topic.
There's the topic.
Deuce.
1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid. I have three. Jason has 2. We're gonna school Jeff today.
We're about to hit for the cycle here.
Yeah,
a
dude.
single, a double, and a triple.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have a full hockey team. Speaking of playoff hockey, let's go Pens hashtag. On this week on Grown Dad Business.
Grown Dad Business with Aaron Kleiber. That's my dad. Hello, underpants. That is hilarious. You should mouth to rate and review this podcast, or my daddy will go into a deep depression. Going down business with Aaron Kleiber.
And boom. Welcome to Grown Dad Business. Real quick, brought to you by our friends at Dad Gear, dadgear.com, and Mac Bakehouse. Oh, thank you so much. Last week we did our Dad Bod. Dad Bod episode was before?
Yeah.
Which one is it released? Yeah, sure. Yeah. We did our Dad Bod episode as I'm pimping out cinnamon rolls from Mac Bakehouse.
It's promoting Dad Bod, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are promoting.
We got to
our
get
Dad
you
Bod.
on the dad bod,
Yeah.
so that you understand the content of what we're talking about.
Jeff is a comedian friend in Pittsburgh. I've always said, this is the compliment round of the show.
Oh, okay.
I've always said that, and I've said this to you before, that I've always felt like Jeff was the best comic in Pittsburgh. And when I was coming up, I was just thankful that Jeff had a day job, a good enough day job, to not take comedy past a hobby, which is spectacular, because then that got us all more work, because none of us had a good job.
Thank you for the compliment. That is very nice.
Very kind of,
like-
yeah.
I'm like-
as compliments from Aaron Kleiber go, that was a good compliment.
That was a good.
It was good.
I compliment everybody.
You do.
Okay.
The compliment was, if he did have a day job, I would crush him.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God for his sake.
Could
that
you
he didn't.
imagine
Yeah, can you
what
imagine
his life would be?
What I would have done to him?
He would lose his home.
Me?
He's sitting in the back and going,
No, I'm just-
if he
I'm
came
just-
out and went, I would.
It kind of left a hole in the line open. You know what I mean?
the power vacuum.
Right, the run through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since Jeff Konkle, wasn't going full bore like some of us with stand-up comedy, and that's spectacular. What I'm saying is, if you actually put 100% into comedy, we would all just be looking up to you, and that's what I think.
Thanks.
I really do.
That is very nice.
So now do you just regret your children?
No.
Okay, that's the real question. Do you regret your wife, your job, and your child?
Yeah, no. No, I was actually telling somebody the other day, I was like, I felt like comedy fulfilled something for me at that time in my life when I started, and maybe it was a need for attention or whatever it was, but now that I have a kid, I'm starting to feel like I need comedy less. I still want to do it. I still like to do it, but I feel like I don't need it quite as much.
Right.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
Where were you at in your life when you started?
Totally single.
Totally single.
No dating. No.
Of
nothing.
course.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I in fact, I don't even know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
What was I doing with all my time?
Yeah, what were you doing?
I don't know, because
Like-
I still feel like I get like 2 hours to my, to
What,
screw around in my life now.
How old were you when you started comedy?
22.
22. I started when I was 28. Oh my gosh. I started stand-up
Wow.
comedy when I was married and had a 6-month-old baby.
I know.
That's really dumb.
I don't know how, because
but that kicked me in the ass, though. I tell
That's
everybody
true.
that's what
That's
it did.
true.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
It really does.
well, probably the biggest fights that I've ever had with my wife were kind of surrounding comedy and how much attention I was giving to it at that point and everything like that. And part of my
Sure.
counter argument was, when you met me, I was doing this, and I was doing it a lot more
Right.
than it is.
Yeah.
But now, as I've grown older, it was, you have to pick your battles because you do have a living human being with emotions that responds to you and loves you and everything like that, and you can't be
Your
if they
wife.
have
You're
something,
talking about your wife.
I'm talking about my wife, obviously.
Yeah.
But you can't. You have to prioritize things, and sometimes going out to an open mic on Tuesday to have 3 beers, you have to be honest with yourself and
Dude.
say, am I doing this because for my craft, or is it because I'm bored?
I know. Or it's like, my wife is sitting at home with an 8-month-old baby, 9-month-old baby, year-old baby. I can go. I have an excuse to just go leave,
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, you can't do that.
Right.
Like that's
there has to be a
But
purpose.
but
now.
at the same time, the purpose was you being able to
Yeah.
provide. I mean, that was.
Yeah,
mean, that-
I think having a 6-month-old child immediately makes you be like, oh yeah, I got to make money at this. Like I gotta
See,
'cause-
that was a different dynamic for me because, like
Right.
you said, I had a day job, so
Right.
really it was a hobby. So I couldn't pull the,
Yeah.
this is putting food on the table. I need to get better at it so I can put more food on
Right.
the table. It's food's taken care of. This is
Right.
basically me going down to the
Right.
basement to play with my trains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'll say to people when they'll ask me about why would I even venture doing this,
Right.
like what I do, and it's just like some guys go and open the hood up, and
Yeah.
take the car apart,
Yeah.
and put it back together
Absolutely.
again,
Yeah.
and that's their release, that's their
Yeah.
that's their ability to, and for us it's just you want to just go
I
do
read
this.
something about they called it the disappearance of the second place. And they said, or the second place was essentially outside of work. It was a place that you went to. It was a bar, it was a
Right.
VFW, it was
Sure.
a social club or
Yeah.
anything like that. Now people don't have that
That's why they're all
anymore.
closing now.
Yeah. So, but they said that served an important thing because you got out into the community, and whether it's church or whatever it is now, but it's just somewhere else that you expand your world just a little bit, as opposed to
Right.
just work and then back to your
Yeah.
house.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we talk about that all the time. I mean, when you equated that to saying sometimes for individuals it's their church. It's
Oh,
their,
absolutely.
It's their opportunity to have a social
Yeah.
life and get outside of
Yeah.
the work and outside of family. It's their opportunity to get out and have that social
Yeah,
life.
that's one thing I see now as being a former youth pastor. I say that with a grin because it's so silly at this point.
Seems
in my
like a
life.
long time ago.
Seems
probably.
like a long time ago. But I see, like, at Arcade Comedy Theater in Pittsburgh, you just see that, like, oh, this is their church.
Mhm.
Like,
This-
it's their.
right.
This is where they tithe. They give their time.
This
they
is their Monday
get
night bingo.
meaning.
Yeah.
This is their. Absolutely, it gives them meaning in their life.
I mean, it's the same thing when you walk into an open mic and there's 50 people on the list
Yeah.
at a bar on a Thursday.
I
And
know.
you're sitting there looking at these names and you're thinking about what's their end game? Like, what are we looking?
Right.
Well, that's the other dynamic
accomplish.
for me was that when I started, I made some really, really great friends. I had a comedy class, like pretty much everybody always has
Uh-huh.
a comedy class. Like you had Palumbo, I think, was starting right when you did. I don't remember who
Oh, him
else
and I started the
day.
same week,
same week.
same night.
But like me, it was Terry Jones had been doing it for like a couple months before I
Right.
did. Bill Crawford was already on the scene, but it was like T-Robe and Mike Wysocki, and they were maybe a
Yeah,
little bit
all
ahead of me.
great, like, local Pittsburgh comics.
But
yeah.
but now, I was telling Terry this the other day, is that as we've all started to grow, and most of us have been doing it for 10 years, now we're not even on the same shows anymore because everyone's like headlining or doing things, so no one's
Oh,
on the
sure,
same show,
yeah.
so you don't get to hang out, you
Oh,
don't
we
get
don't
that
see-
same sense
yeah,
of
right.
camaraderie, and it's
Right.
hard to manufacture that with another group of people now.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of young guys and girls now that I don't think I'd love to feel the same sense of camaraderie with them, but I
Right.
just don't think that I'll ever get there.
True,
We're not
yeah.
going to go through the same battles at this point. We're not going to
No,
go do
right.
the open mics above the bowling alleys
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Those experiences.
But you
we've been
still
had.
you've been getting out. I mean, you still get out. You still get to do some comedy.
Yeah.
And now you have a second child on the way.
Yeah, bun in the oven.
How far?
It's 4 months. So I got September is the due date.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I still got a little bit.
Oh, I feel so bad. Your wife's got to go through July and August.
She wanted to. She had a winter baby last time. She wanted to.
Okay. Okay.
I agree.
I'm gonna ask you in August
I
because my wife had 2 summer pregnancies. Well, our first one was born June 24th, but it was still warm enough.
Right.
But my son was born September 13th.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that July and August was hell for her.
Well,
I mean, it was just, I mean, she was never cool enough.
she's struggling now, and I'm like, we are not even at the halfway point now.
Look,
like,
it's
we
70.
got a long way to go.
It's 75 degrees at Easter. July and August is going to be 95, 100.
That's why I'm telling you, I am in some hardcore nesting phase right now. That's why I've ripped out my entire garage in the last week, and I'm doing that all because I know that I'm going to have to start helping a lot.
He's already pulling some dad moves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You create
drywall. R value, baby. R value. You got to get that R value up.
Oh man.
You definitely, like right now, like we're in my, what I call my dad cave, because I mean, I live in a 3-bedroom ranch, and which is why I just bought a 4-bedroom 2-acre house, because you have to get away sometimes. You have to. And I know right now it's just like, it's just me and my pretty wife and my one little baby. Oh, dude. Like, we were laughing because, like, it's like, it takes like a team of you to handle one. And you were saying, like, you're like a pit crew.
Yeah, I say that at this point, you know, my son's 2 years old. We have caring for him down to a flow chart. I mean, every decision is no problem. I handled this before. He reacts a certain way. We got it squared away, and now we've just mastered one thing, and now it's time to take.
And it's like,
else.
you're gonna get used to that and doing that, and then the second one, you're handling the new baby, and you turn around, and the other baby has like, you know, a magic marker on the refrigerator and a whole open container of
diesel,
a gallon of milk, and you're like, why? Where did you even get that? And you're gonna be amazed how many things kids could do in 2 seconds, because you're gonna turn your back a lot for the new baby, and you're gonna turn around, and your son, you're like, how are you butt naked already? Like, how did you take all your clothes off in a second and a half?
Let me ask you this. So, like, with the first kid, we
I love
have
this. This is what this show's
showered with attention. I mean, he's a little.
Yes.
I told my wife, I was like, he's going to be a comedian because he can't stand when someone's not looking at him. Like, he has to do something to have him
he'll
look
learn
at him.
the hard way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, so when the second, you guys would know better than me, when that second kid comes around, how do you divide your attention up? Is it just on who's on fire? You know, basically.
And typical for us, because we're like, mine all happen at a different stage. So obviously, as we said, you know, my daughter's 22, JC's 17. So she was 5. Like,
so relatively, she could get her own cereal.
She was
super
making scrambled
excited.
She was making scrambled eggs, and she was, you know, I'm the big sister, and she'd push the stroller. So my experience with my kids, as far as division of time, she was part of the Army.
Right.
Yeah.
She was.
Man, that'd be
she
nice.
was down for that. You know, until he was able to walk and talk, and then she's like, I don't want anything to do with him anymore.
Yeah.
We've been slowly peppering in like baby talk and let's see, oh, you're ready to have a baby? Are you excited to have a baby? Like, trying to do that type of thing. He's 2.
Oh, okay.
So,
And actually, you're right on with that. That's actually, and I'm taking all of this knowledge not from me, but from my wife, has a degree in early children's education and development. So I've learned from her. But like, what she's really good at, I forgot what I was going to say, because we're actually watching Pittsburgh Penguins playoff hockey.
Focus.
What I was going to say was that she did a really good job of including my son
in the process. Yeah.
Right. Like saying, like, making sure he's excited and making sure that he's...
Do you want to help?
Yeah, aren't you going to be ready? Aren't you going to be a big brother? Like, almost like giving him something to also look forward to having. Now, our daughter was a little bit older, too, when we had our third one here, so she was, like, exactly how your daughter was.
She's been through this.
She's a helper. She's awesome. We call her Little Mama. Like, she's just great. Not the hip-hop Little Mama.
No.
But, yeah, dude, it's going to be an adjustment. There's going to be, I'd say, at least 6 months of him, like, yo, what the fuck? Like, he's going to be angry.
Yeah.
And you're going to see him, and I know it's going to happen, and you're going to be like, you told the future. No, it's just going to happen. He's going to do things that you've never seen him do before, and you're like, dude, what the F? Like, why would you just...
Because he's grabbing for that.
Yeah. Why would you just throw a pizza on the floor? You little asshole. Like, you'll just be like, wait, where's this coming from? You know? And then you find yourself over here with this baby, and you're like, oh, wait. This is where that's coming from.
Can I tell you?
You know what I mean?
Can I tell you my guilty thought? I'll tell you my guilty thought that I had with my first kid, and then the guilty thought that I'm having now that my wife's pregnant again. My first guilty thought when we were having our first kid was I was really just concerned that I wasn't going to connect with him, like that I wasn't going to like love him or whatever it was.
Right.
But of course that all changed. But I was just worried about it. Now I'm worried that I have such a good situation. I love having my son. I kind of like the situation that we're in. I'm almost looking at the second kid like a little bit of a disruptor,
Right.
like like someone who's gonna come in and kind of turn my nice little world on its
absolutely.
head, and I feel
yeah.
guilty for thinking that, but I don't know if it's avoidable or not.
No, it's gonna happen. Like it is kind of like, man, this is nice. And you're like, oh shit,
Here
it's gonna
comes
get
this
real.
guy.
It's gonna get yeah.
and it's
But it changes. You find that space again.
It becomes it's so natural. Like I don't know. I going through it. For me, I looked at my wife and I just said, God damn it! Like we had no clue what we were doing.
I
Like
just pictured you grabbing Melissa's face and going, God damn it.
no, there's no. I mean, it was a partnership. I mean, we understood like, but I didn't have a clue. Like,
Right.
who you relying on? Your parents to teach you this shit? My parents weren't teaching me jack.
Right.
Like it wasn't a discussion that was ever had, and I didn't go to books. I mean, listen, we're talking 20 years
Yeah, I know,
ago,
I know.
man.
That's-
I wasn't dialing up on
Now-
the internet what to do when a kid swallows a goddamn penny.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
Right.
You just let them shit it out. You deal with it, and I think that everything that you establish with your first child, the second child, is somewhat a little more complicated because you're worried about the social aspect
Right.
of the other child. Are you giving enough love? Are you showing enough attention? But at the same time, a lot of things that you worried about the first time around is going to be like
Oh, you
jumping
don't
on that
even
bicycle.
care.
You
Like
know,
that-
that second, you're like, whatever.
That first
that's
time,
done.
I wouldn't touch his little umbilical
Oh,
cord
yeah,
stump.
yeah.
I thought that was the grossest part
Yeah.
of a little newborn baby. Now I'm just gonna flick that thing
Yeah,
right off
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
be completely done.
There's things definitely that like I'm a little OCD. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. So my first child, I was super germaphobe. Now I just don't care anymore. Like it actually having 3 kids cured my germophobia almost.
Dude.
Like
Well,
I'm still like I won't touch
it's
a
o-
bathroom door handle.
Yeah, and it's probably other
things
people.
like that.
Your own kids you don't care about.
No,
because
right.
You're a germ.
But I used to be weird by myself, which is so weird.
I remember this is one of these like you know how you have these like fragments of memories
Sure.
like from like when you're 3 and you're
Oh,
like
yeah.
why do I remember that?
Mhm.
I remember I must have been 3 and I must have shit the bed or something like that. And I had a couple and I go to the bathroom and there's like turds falling out of my pants. I remember my dad literally little bunny
nugs.
beans.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
dad
yeah.
literally
Bunny beans.
literally picking up a turd of mine and putting it in the toilet. And even at that age, I was like, this guy loves me. Like, he just picked up my own shit and put it in the toilet for me.
You're like, I'm with that guy.
Yeah.
And guess what? If that would have happened right now, that would totally not faze me whatsoever. It
My
wouldn't
wife
even
does
faze
that for me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things too. But also, you find yourself not caring about certain things. Like, if my first child, if my oldest daughter, when she was a baby, was like standing on top of the dining room table, singing, I'd be like, "Oh my God, get down!" Now, my third one, little fire cat,
Yeah.
I'm like, Jason, look at this girl.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
at
I
this
know.
show.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
She's over here standing on the table singing, and it's adorable.
I-
And it's like, oh, get down.
I think you only have so much fear and worry to dole out, and you start to have to be more efficient with
It's
your
true.
worrying.
You,
if that makes any sense.
The phrase that I love in life and in parenting is that you have to choose your willows and your oaks. Is that there's certain things you can only pay attention to that really is like your oak tree, things that you're solid about,
Yeah.
that you have to like take care of or correct them.
Yeah.
And then there's those things that kind of blow in the wind, and you're like,
It's picking your battles.
right. It's picking your battles.
See, but
Willows
for me,
and oaks.
For me,
like if my son's picking his nose and eating it, and I'm like, whatever. This baby over here is about to drink a can of beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got to stop one of them. It's like whatever.
But see, for
Pick
me,
your nose.
willows turn into oaks so very frequently. Like
Ah.
I'll be like,
You will learn to just not care about certain things.
like I'll be like we'll be having dinner and he won't drink his milk or something like that. And I'll be like, you got to
God.
drink the milk.
Oh shit.
And then that's a willow, and I know that's a willow.
Yeah.
But it becomes the oak of he's not listening to me. And
Yeah.
so then I'm
Wow.
just like, well, you gotta
Oh,
listen
you're
to
disrespecting.
me. Like,
What's he
yeah,
gonna do when
that's
he's
true.
16?
yeah, you're disrespecting the office.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
take
that's-
that.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
the merits.
And we went through that hardcore with my son these last 2 years. You know, I joke about that. You know, people talk about
having
the
this teenage
people
boy.
talk about the terrible twos.
I
It's
ask him
not-
questions about this.
It's
Yeah.
not when they're
Oh,
2
man.
years old. It's going to be a 2-year span at some point where this son of a bitch is going to go off. And he was 15 to 17, and now he's leveled off. He's bubbling up here and there, but he's got more focus. You see a maturity that's happened to him in a very short span of time. man, it was 2 years of holy
Right.
hell. But we got off easy with our daughter. Our daughter was very
Right.
easy to get through that teen stage.
Man. Well,
There
that's
wasn't
lucky.
an influx of boyfriends or nothing crazy like that. It was pretty much all under control.
Because in my experience, from what I've known about teenagers, is that with teenage girls, you have to worry about them being a raging bitch for about 2 years, and with teenage boys, you have to worry about them being a absolute idiot for 2 years.
Yeah. Like
no decision-making skills whatsoever.
none. They don't.
But,
you know,
like-
there's no thought. There's no
thoughts
forward
going
thought.
on, right.
There's no, if I do this, the chances are that this or this could happen
Nope.
to me. Nope.
And-
They're just, I'm doing this.
and maybe-
It's just like, yes, I will put my dick in this fire.
And, well, that's
Like,
what,
they don't care.
I remember I don't remember exactly what I did, but I got in trouble, and my dad just goes, "Why did you do that?" And I was like 17, and I was like, I didn't have an answer. I didn't know why I did it. I was just like, I don't
There's
know
no
why I
cause
did
and
that.
I felt like
There's
it.
no cause or effect.
But I wonder, are we putting too much? Are we letting guys off the hook? Because I'm saying girls are bitches at that age, but is it possible that that's not intentional either? They don't know what they're doing, and that I'm being too soft on guys.
Well, from what I know about having a degree in childhood development, girls are different, chemically. Like, they're a little bit
Sure,
different
yeah.
chemically. So, their lapse in judgment comes from, their emotions and their, their development. But it also is the same exact thing with the guys. It just might manifest a little bit differently.
You know
You
what?
know what I mean?
That's one thing that I always think is hilarious is that everybody always remembers is like, oh, I remember high school is like that was the good old days. And don't get me
Oh,
wrong,
yeah.
like I had fun, but do you remember like the
No.
I remember one time I like cried because somebody else had a jacket that I had. And because I loved this jacket. I thought it was an Adidas 3-stripe, down the
yeah.
thing. And someone else came to school with that jacket and I wouldn't wear it again. And I was
Yeah,
I was
dude.
like devastated. And I was like, that's being a teenager. So
Yeah.
cut them some slack. Like that was the
Right.
most important thing in my
Right,
life at
right.
that point, and I didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, I think that for me, I went through a phase where it was just like, man, I fucked him up. Like he was making mistakes, and I'm sitting there
Yeah.
looking in the mirror going, and then you start thinking, you're like, oh shit,
Why
I
think because you could have nipped it in the bud? Or
Well, that's
what?
a-
what
the
you
thing,
start
too, where-
thinking that because then
Yeah.
you're sitting there going, I did the same thing.
Right. And I sit here as Jason's friend, and we're good friends. We know things about each other's families. We're close friends. So when someone like Jason will tell me about his teenage kids, and I'm like, what the? I'm like, Jason's a good dude. Like, Jason
Yeah.
and Melissa are good parents. I'm like, oh shit. We're good parents. Like, this is gonna happen no matter what. You don't know. Like, it's just gonna happen because it's their way of growing.
And then that takes
It's
you
just the
back.
way it-
That takes you back to your Willows and Oaks thing. where
Right.
you really, definitely.
Right.
Then
That's a good
you're
thing.
worried about milk being drank. You're thinking about the kid shotgunning beers at 16.
Right.
And you've got to sit there and weigh that
Weigh,
out. And
yeah.
you also have to go back in your time because I went and did some stuff.
Oh yeah,
So
I did
you-
some shit.
So you have, but you have to take that out of your mind,
Yeah.
especially when you look at my wife, who never experienced a life like that. I start off a joke where I talk about where we
my
come
wife,
from two
too.
different worlds. My wife was raised in a family with 4 priests and 3 nuns.
Yeah.
I was raised by bikers.
Yeah.
So how the hell were we supposed to come together and make upstanding human beings?
You know what's
if we're
the-
batting
yeah.
50%, Jeff, we're doing okay.
Do you know what's
Yeah.
the weird thing about that? Is that somewhere deep in that relationship, there has to be a common set of values.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the interesting social
Yeah.
experiment there.
We
What was the common set
and
of
we
values
talk about it all the
between
time
those two?
because I was the dude that grew up in the projects that was a latchkey kid. My mom worked till 2 a.m. And my wife was Melissa. Like,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah, there's
she
so
had
many
a
similarities.
great conservative family, church, all this. You know,
Yeah.
it's like so it's
Well, that's what
you don't know how it's going to turn out.
And plus, I always say, like, from going back to Jason's point about how are you going to, teach your kids when you were in you put yourself in those same situations. I always think that, and I think especially now, because when I first started college is when Facebook first got launched. So there is a photographic track record out there of every single mistake.
Yeah.
I remember there's a picture of me posing. I was drunk with like a gun that I was like holding to my head, like like so. How in God's name am I ever going to?
We'll find that thing right now.
Well, it's buried deep inside.
I'll crack that code, Jeff.
But what I'm saying is that
he'll find it for this episode release.
Yeah, but I felt like I had good values and stuff, and I still was a total absolute idiot.
That's for real going to be the photo for this episode.
I think one of the things that I learned is being open with your teenagers. You have to be careful. And the reason I say that is because I was very open with both of my children on what I did and so that I felt that I could talk to them about the perils.
On a real level.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Right.
What you say can and will be used against
right.
you in a lot of circumstances.
That's what I mean. Like, how do you not become a hypocrite?
Start at the top and make everything bad.
Be a hypocrite. You were holding a gun to your head, you asshole. You don't want your son doing that. Don't tell him you did it.
Yeah.
Because he's looking and going, well, look how good my daddy turned out.
My kids ain't finding out nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, my daddy used to be a youth pastor. I'm like, yep, that's it. You keep telling yourself that.
I don't deal in regrets. I don't deal on looking back
right.
and saying, I wish I would have done this differently.
Right.
I dealt the hand,
Yep.
and now you roll with it, and you work through
And
those things
it's
together.
always it makes
together.
you absolutely. It makes you the person you are too, and your wife knows that, and your wife knows, and your spouse loves you for who you are, or whoever you have children with.
Yep.
And you just kind of roll with it, and you be a team. That's the key right there. You're
Especially
a team.
with two.
God
yes,
damn.
you have to be a team. You cannot show weakness in front of them.
Can I tell you
or they will kill you.
I think my wife and I have maybe had like 4 like really big fights, and that's in a 7-year marriage.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
pretty
with that.
good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I agree with that. My wife and
So-
I maybe have one big fight a year.
Yeah. So what we have though is, and this started with our first kid, is we call it the resentment meter.
Yeah.
And you always, so the gauge goes from 0 to 10, and usually if you are feeling like you're at an 8 or above, you tell the other person like, hey, I'm at an 8 resentment right now, and then you flesh it out and be like, because I just cleaned the dishes, I just cooked, and now you're just sitting there playing on your phone. Like that's the kind of thing. And it's a little steam valve that blows it off.
Whoa.
You get to talk, and she was in social work, so she is very appropriate with the I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, like that type of thing. And I swear to God,
you used to work in HR.
yeah. So
you
there's a little
guys-
bit of kid gloves there. But
Well,
I feel like
if you look in section 3A of our relationship,
yeah, this is the handbook. I don't know why we're even arguing about
The
this.
Konkle contract.
But I always say that if there was like stats for marriage that was like baseball stats, number of fights avoided should be a stat. That would be like ERA.
right,
Like,
yeah,
at
right,
times
right.
where you could, I'm
Saves.
going in.
Saves?
Yeah, saves.
Oh, I'm a save
Nope,
leader.
like I'm good.
I'm
Like,
a
it's
save
not-
leader.
This is not worth a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always
absolutely.
talk about reading the room with my son. Like, I learned how to read the room when it came to the house, whether it was with my daughter or with my wife, and my son still can't read the room. Like, he's dropping things to her on Easter Sunday, and I'm looking at him and go, what do you do,
I
guy?
don't get it. What do you mean?
In other words, you have to know what you can
what
get
you can
into
get away
at that
with.
moment.
Oh,
Yeah, like
you have to understand.
Like, are they in the
where
mood
they
to?
at
Well,
deal
that's
with- yeah.
that's like
they in
when
the-
I come home from a show at midnight and my wife was around and wants to talk about this bill,
Gotta
Yeah.
do-
and I'm like, I will punch your teeth out right now. Are you kidding me right now?
Yep, but you
Or
have to
it's
go.
like, you'll be in the stages of love making. It's like, I was talking to my mom yesterday about our mortgage interest,
no.
and I was like, my wiener is out. You cannot be talking about mortgage interest right now. You know what I mean? Like,
There's few things less sexy than a balloon loan.
yeah. On that note, balloon loans and wieners. I'm gonna take a real quick break and give a shout out to 2 of our sponsors. One is Dad Gear, dadgear.com. Dad Gear sent me a lot of dope things. Dope, including the Dad Gear backpack that my wife is obsessed with. She wears it every single day. It has so many pockets in it.
Goddamn gadgets, you like Batman with that thing.
Dude, I'm finding a different pocket every day. There's a different pocket every day. It's like MacGyver was a dad and was like, I'm going to make some upgrades to this. It's like the whole A-Team was like, they took a normal backpack and they made it into a dope backpack with like bazookas on it and stuff.
Yeah.
You remember how they would take a bulldozer? Anyway, that's what Dad Gear does. And then they also gave me a messenger bag that is incredible. And they have wipes. You pull out a flap that has wipes. It has
A wipe flap.
a wipe flap, a wipe flap. That sounds so gross.
It does sound
You're like,
good.
ew, get off my wipe flap. Jason's rocking the vest. Dude, they have a fleece vest, Dad Gear has, and it has a changing pad in the back of the vest you pull out.
You reach behind your back, Jeff, and you
Boom.
changing pad.
So are you walking around like a Ninja Turtle the whole time?
Yeah,
With your
bro.
big pad
You're
on?
badass
No,
dad. No,
you can't even
no,
tell.
You don't know.
It's concealed.
It's concealed. You could have your dad weapon and your changing pad all in the same vest.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you graduate out of diapers, flask.
Yeah. But, go to dadgear.com. All Dad Gears are made in the USA. They're built to last, and you're going to be super organized. They're for moms, too. They're not, like I said, my wife.
They have some new products they're developing, too, that are coming out soon, too.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then our other shout-out, our friend, Jason's going to tell you about Mary Mac Bakehouse.
Mary
oh, my
Mac
gosh.
Bakehouse. Oh, big fan. Love her stuff. She comes to our shows. She brings baked goods.
Yeah.
If you listen to the Dad Bod.
But she delivers
ad,
all over the country.
She does. She ships all over the place. Baking mixes. Some of them are actually regionally themed.
Yeah,
which is
she
kinda
names them
interesting.
goofy stuff, you
Yeah.
know. Speaking of Pittsburgh Penguins playoff hockey, she'll have like a Sidney Crosby, like, cake mix or something.
Yeah.
It's
Yinzer Mix is one of them,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
a
yeah,
Pittsburgh
yeah.
thing. So, but you have to go ahead and check her out all across all the social medias. And at Mary at marymacbakehouse.com. We'll have that in the information liner. You can find her on Facebook. You're on Twitter at Mary Mac Mixes. Instagram, the pictures. Just go and look at her pictures.
Yeah, go look
what
at the
she's put on
food.
there. The cinnamon rolls is what she's known for.
Oh, my God.
Couple 30 seconds in the microwave, get them nice and warm.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
God, it's
unbelievable.
so
Really
good.
good.
We ate them for Easter morning, and they were unbelievable.
I sent her a message the other day. I seen a bakery that did a cinnamon roll baked inside of a donut, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I said,
And she said she's going to do it.
I sent her. I tweeted at her and I said, if you get this straightened out, Aaron and I will do.
Straightened out.
Aaron and I will do something very special.
We'll
for
do
you.
a full episode
I don't
just
even-
on this.
If you
Yeah.
iron out the logistics of this
We'll invite every dad we
It
know.
was like the turducken of baked
my
goods.
God.
So yeah, check out Mary Mac Bakehouse, and she has a podcast, a cooking podcast, marymacpodcast.com.
We're gonna have to do that.
So check out Mary Mac, and also check out dadgear.com. And if you want to see comedy, if you want to see us do comedy, as of today, the release of this podcast, I am at the Looney Bin in Wichita, Kansas. Next week, I'm at the Looney Bin in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then, boom, I'm moving into a new house, so I'm taking a couple weeks off. And then we get back to the Stand-Up Get Down at Arcade Comedy Theater in Pittsburgh on May 26th. What's that? Oh, I was like, you scared me. And then I'll be in Tampa and doing some other things. Anything, Jeff? Do you have anything going on?
I got just this weekend's the WDV Loaded show.
Yeah,
it
that's
was great.
past.
It was a great show.
It was a great show.
It was a good
It's an
show.
amazing
crushed.
show.
I mean, it was incredible.
I heard
They
really
carried
good
you
reviews.
out. They carried you out on their shoulders
When they
singing.
dump- when they dump-
for He's a
yeah.
Jolly Good Fellow.
There's a lot of industry people there. I actually got a sitcom deal.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's going to be on the WB 13.
It's called Time for Two.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Time for Two. So yeah, let's get back briefly. So Jeff Konkle,
Button it up.
comedian and dad. He is having his second child. Do you have any other questions for the dads?
For the panel.
How about just logistical things?
Oh.
Okay, so these are going to get real specific. So baby,
I got you.
So my son sleeps great through the night right now. So does a baby crying, will that wake up a 2-year-old? I've heard no, pretty resoundingly, but I find that hard to believe.
No, not really.
But then
Wow.
again, wouldn't that be very case specific?
It would be very case specific. I mean, I know that, like, I know a friend of mine who had a really colicky second child, and the first one pretty much had to, like, sleep in another room. Like, had to sleep with the parents.
Oh,
Are you going in the same room, or they're gonna have separate?
no, they
rooms?
got separate rooms.
Okay,
They'll have separate
okay.
But that's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you'll be fine.
I think you'll be okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad.
I'm a little worried about that.
Then again, I mean, you know, he could be popping out like, "Mommy, Daddy, what's going on?" You know,
That's what I like. That's what I'm
but he
most
gets used to
worried
it.
about. is
He'll get
that
used to
my
it.
son is a very sweet boy, like he has a ton of empathy. So whenever he sees babies crying, like you can see him start to tear up just because it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
so I just don't like. I think that's going to be.
I think that goes with the prep work you were talking about too, where you were prepping him.
Yeah,
You know,
you'll
it
get
doesn't
used
mean
to it.
he's hurt. It's you know, it's their way of
Right.
You know, you can.
Yeah, you'll get used to it. I mean, I even say on stage, it definitely feels like the second one comes out and sees the first one, and they just form this alliance, and they're like, let's blow everything up. Like, they just know. They know how to function as a team immediately.
Well, we did find out that we're having 2 boys, too. So we have a boy, we're going to have another boy. So we just found that out.
We're not cutting a cake. You could have cut a cake. Why didn't you bring a goddamn cake?
Why didn't you do that?
You should have brought a cake. Even we could have pretended
I
that you
should have
brought
got
a
a
cake.
Mary Mac jelly donut and filled it with blueberry goop or something like that.
And I
then
bit it, and I'm like, whoa, them my boy.
oh, there's a baby boy in my mouth. Oh, that didn't sound good.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Jeff is a disgusting son of a bitch.
God damn.
But I think that I'm first of all, like, my son is in like the 98th percentile for height. He's going to be bigger than me. He's well, my wife is 5'11", and my father-in-law is 6'5", 280.
Wow.
So basically, what I'm saying is that by the time this kid's 14, he's gonna be able to physically beat the shit out of me. So now I have another one coming, and I'm my only strategy up to this point is basically do what my dad did, which he never really got physical with us at all. But what he did do is intimidation.
Yeah.
He would destroy inanimate objects, and like he'd rip like a cabinet off the wall, or like put his foot through some drywall or something like that. So basically,
I love this.
So basically, what you do is you're like, well, you know, he just punched through some plate glass. Like, imagine what he would do to me, and that's
Imagine
all you
what he
need.
would do to
That's
my
all you
face.
need to instill.
John Heffron does a bit on that. Growing up, one day his dad goes ape shit and breaks every door in the house. And here he goes, the magic of it was he had all the doors to be replaced that were all sitting downstairs. He just wanted to prove a point.
do it, yeah.
He wanted to show them who
Oh
was
my
boss.
God.
He
That
destroys
is so
every door
funny.
in the house.
So funny.
But he was already removing the doors.
He was just waiting for his kids to get mad, and then he's like, oh, yeah. Boom. Starts punching, kicking holes through doors. You're like, oh, my God.
Oh, my God. It's
My
such a
dad
good
is the
story.
scariest, toughest person
Oh, yeah.
alive, and I will listen to everything he says.
My kids and my wife referred, it was the dad voice.
Yeah, that's for me, too.
My register
That's
would
what I do.
drop, and it would be, "Ugh," and like you felt it. Like other kids would stop moving because it's happening. But then they figured me out.
Right, they know it's inert.
That's what he said about them being a team. That's when the oldest went to him and go, you know, he ain't gonna do shit.
He's gonna touch you. Mommy
my-
talked to him for
my
two
kids
days.
now-
Yeah.
They're still young. I mean, I could yell at my son right now. Watch. Here we go. Watch it.
Jeez.
What time is it?
It's bedtime.
What time? Oh,
It's
they're in bed.
bedtime.
Oh, my
It's
God. They're
bedtime.
sleeping.
My
They're
God.
sleeping.
Wow, that was
I'll tell you
almost
what.
disastrous.
I know.
That
It
was
was
almost
trouble.
me and
I know.
Jeff crawling out
Crawling.
a
It's
window.
so funny because if I would have been like Luke, like if I would you hear what, Daddy? Like at the top of the steps.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Like I mean, start early. Start early.
Start with the verbal intimidation.
Dude, don't listen.
Call him
and
pussy
I-
when he pisses his pants or something.
No,
You
no,
should
no.
show him the gun picture.
Here's the thing.
If I was willing to do that.
What people don't understand is that you start forming your child's personality and manners at like 1.
Yeah.
Between the ages of 1 and 4, that is who. I mean, a lot of it is kind of who that person is. I mean, you're setting them up. And so,
Isn't that depressing?
whether
Like,
your
those
kids
were your
have
formative
manners,
years?
whether your kids have manners, the way they treat people, the way they
the
speak,
respect level. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
my
that's
end game
really-
for everything. You know, and I talked about about my son being a handful and things like that. Bottom line, he is always respectful.
Yeah.
He always shows respect to every individual. He knows how to walk up to a person. He'd meet you right now, shake your hand, look you right in the eye. It's a pleasure to meet you. That's the kid I wanted.
My
the
kids,
children
my
I
kids
wanted
say
to
please and
raise.
thank you.
Yeah,
like, absolutely.
Is it because you told them that that's what they should be doing, or is it because you modeled that?
Both, absolutely both.
I see. I would venture to say that you get a lot more of modeling those behaviors if they see you saying thank you after
Absolutely.
receiving something. It's much better than saying like you need to say thank you.
Yeah,
after
and
that,
then
'cause
you're
then
being
they're gonna be like, you know.
then you're being a jack off. The next
no.
guy, I
Right.
mean, that's bullshit. No, you're gonna be who you are for them, and that's what you want them to be.
Right,
and
right.
I always heard this great. I don't know why this is germane to this conversation, but I heard that I used to work for a guy, and it was on Valentine's Day, and he said that he always gets flowers. He had a son and a daughter, and he said he always gets flowers for his wife and his daughter. And I was just like, why do you get it for your daughter too? And he said this line that I thought was corny at the time, but now that I think about it, I was like, this is a great line. He said, because I want my son to see how a lady should be treated, and I want my daughter to know how a lady should be treated. And I was like, man, that's some deep stuff right there.
There is a ton of knowledge in that. I would take my daughter we would go out on a date.
Yeah.
And I would take her out to dinner, and I would make sure listen, past that, whatever we're doing now, I would hold the door for her.
Yeah.
Like that's if someone is not showing you that, and we've been blessed with her boyfriend. The guy, he's been in our family now for a couple years.
But
very blessed because
would
he's
she have
that
even
guy.
gone through that? Like, would he have even got through that filter if he wasn't great? Because the bar was set very high.
True.
No,
That's true.
She did have one that he was a son of a bitch, and then one day
Well, you gotta go through a couple.
And
of those.
she had to balance out where
It
she was
scares me.
at with her emotions and who she was, and going through that change during her
there's
life.
sure. Rebellion,
And then
yeah.
one day she just snapped and said, "Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No. He's not treating me the way he's supposed to be treating me," and he's gone. And so there is a lot to be said about the example, especially
Absolutely.
with a daughter or your son. I mean, my son knows how much I love my wife. And
Yeah.
he
Oh,
knows of how much I respect women and how much I show that love, and it's important. For them
I
to
think
see it.
sometimes I'm a little too hard on my son when he makes my wife upset, but he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that that's not how you treat your mommy.
Yeah.
That's not how you treat girls. That's not how you treat your sisters. And I love that he's in the middle of two girls. I love it. Because, some people are like, oh, no, you got to. I'm like, no, man. He is surrounded by great women who he will learn how to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
And if he does something wrong to my wife, if my wife gets mad at him.
And they will.
Yep.
They will.
And I walk in that room, he looks at me like, oh, fuck. Like, he knows. I love that he knows to treat his mother with respect.
My dad used to, whenever I was in my teenage years, right in middle school, right around 8th grade, I think that was probably the biggest turd on,
Sure.
in my time span. But I
Me
remember
too.
my dad would, if I would mouth off to my mom, he would say this great line. He'd be like, "What'd you just say to my girlfriend?" Mm-hmm. And it was real,
I say the same thing.
It was like real. Like, it was like James Dean back in the 50s. Like, you're gonna rumble right now. Like, what did you
That's
just say to
so
my
funny.
girlfriend? And he, by saying that was his girlfriend, it took mommy out of the equation. Like,
Right.
she's not your mommy. She's my girlfriend. You can't talk
Yeah.
to her like that. And I was
I
like,
say
"Okey-dokey."
to my son,
Yeah.
I go, that's my lady.
Yeah.
I said, that's my girl. You don't talk to my girl like that. I've said that to him.
And I went through that recently where my son, again,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
struggling, and I would talk to Aaron about it, and I had that conversation with him. It no longer was, you don't talk to your mother that way. It became, you don't talk to my wife that way.
Yeah.
dude.
Right now,
Yeah.
no man can walk up to
Right.
my wife
You
in
gotta
any
go-
situation, and there's been situations that I won't talk about for other people
Oh,
to listen
yeah.
to,
Right.
where I've stepped up
treat
and
my
said,
woman like
I'm
that.
going to go to prison tonight because I'm going to you talk to my wife, I will snap the shit out of you.
Well,
Now we're getting pumped. Now we're getting pumped.
So what was he?
You guys wanna join a
how old,
dodgeball league?
16, usually right around when this was happening.
Yeah, it was within this last 2 years
They start
span.
to need a little dose of reality,
Yeah.
and if that's how you're going to talk to somebody on the streets,
You're going to get reality.
You're going to
Hey,
get
man.
reality.
Yeah.
Don't
I
play.
might have the arthritis, but I don't fight fair. I don't fight fair.
Yo, I'll pick up a brick
I
on
will
you,
hit
son.
you with a 2x4 and not worry.
I will
about
be a son of a bitch. We will be the son of a bitch of the show.
it. Son of a bitch. We're your son of a bitch.
I will
guy
be the.
here.
Jeff is.
He's
Ooh,
ready.
boy.
He's ready.
He's ready for two son of a bitches to roll into the world.
Well, this is the good thing, is that I worry so much about everything that I pretty much have every contingency covered already mentally in my mind. Like, anything horrific that could happen, I've already imagined and fleshed out into its biggest
So
entirety.
the
and
follow-up episode will be December
Yeah.
with Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
can
saying.
throw
We'll
all
talk more
that
about it.
bullshit away because none of that's going to
His
happen.
shirt,
I know.
His shirt's so nice and pressed.
I know.
Look
at
him.
you.
You're so
You still
cute.
iron clothes? That's adorable.
I got brown shoes on.
Oh, you're gonna be wearing East Spirit loafers to work because your feet hurt.
The
Yeah.
Velcro.
Oh my gosh,
Good time.
that was good
That was
times.
fun. That was fun.
Oh, there's no son of a bitch here except Jeff's second child.
Just
Really,
three dads
Yeah,
getting
that's
together and kicking knowledge.
three dads getting together, kicking knowledge. Is that a new
Yeah.
show?
Put it on a T-shirt.
Hashtag Dad Crate.
Oh yeah. Before we get out of
Let's
here,
throw that one last
let me throw
time.
this out of here real quick, and we're gonna be done. This is so you can win stuff. Don't turn it off. You can win a prize. Go on any of our social medias and type in hashtag DadCrate, and Jason and I will pick a winner for the month to win a dad crate from us. You don't know what's going to be in it. I don't know what's going to be in it.
Oh, you guys love putting together the whole gift bag.
Oh, it's the best.
Your thing.
Oh, it's the best.
It is, really.
So we're going to send one person a dad crate, and it's going to be awesome. I can guarantee you that, because we overkill sometimes.
We do.
And we'd be like, but what about this? You got to put this in the dad crate. And I'm like, you're right. Well, now we got to get another bigger box for the dad crate. That's probably what's going to happen. So hashtag dad crate on any of our social medias. Visit dadgear.com and marymacbakehouse.com. And Jeff Konkle is the son of a bitch.